In early March of 2023, we were lucky to have already had an appointment set up for the installation of a level 2 home charging outlet for just a few days after we drove our brand new 2023 Chevy Bolt from Michigan to our home in Daytona Beach, Florida. As new electric vehicle owners, we've come to appreciate quite a few quote-unquote soft benefits of owning an EV, and the first one was that our 240-volt outlet installation was included in the purchase price of our Chevy Bolt. The electrician had to drill a hole into our concrete block garage in order to access our electric sub-panel on the outside of the garage wall, but that's only because our main panel, which is located inside of the garage, didn't have any space left in there for the electric charging outlet, so this was the solution. Our installer also ran into a bit of an issue in finding a 50 amp GFCI for our General Electric branded electric box that he said we needed in order to meet the code requirements. He just couldn't find one anywhere locally or online, so he had to put the GFCI into its own special little box. A tip for those of you who are thinking about upgrading your electric boxes to accommodate an electric vehicle is to check with your electrician on which electric box manufacturers have everything you need for an electric vehicle charger install. Now, we would have purchased our Bolt anyway, but being able to let Qmerit, the company that General Motors has contracted with, set up the electrician to install our home charging plug really took a burden off of us in our switch to an electric vehicle. The one bit of constructive feedback that we would give to Qmerit about this process, though, is to have the electrician have a discussion with the homeowner about the orientation of the outlet. I'll explain more on that in a minute, but first, our Bolt came with this charger which has dual level charging. The level 1 plug is 120 volts and gives us up to 12 amps of charging as set on the Bolt EUV. And the level 2 plug is 240 volts, which gives us up to 32 amps of charging. As a precaution, we plan on keeping this control box / power adapter cords, or what I'll be referring to as the charger, in the car at all times when we're out and about so that we can plug in where we can find an appropriate outlet if we ever need to. We ended up buying a second charger to mount in the garage due to not wanting the hassle of taking this charger in and out of the car all the time, and we also didn't want all of the plugging and unplugging to wear out the receptacle. And this ended up being easier to mount in our garage anyway. Speaking of mounting, remember that feedback I mentioned for Qmerit? Well, you really should decide which charger you plan on mounting in your garage before you get your new charging outlet installed. If you look at the back of the GM supplied charger, the screw holes make it so that this unit can only be mounted above the outlet. So the plug comes down and needs to go in ground side down, but our electrician installed our outlet with the ground side up. The GM instructions say not to strain the cord, so for this particular charger, our outlet is upside down. And the GM instructions say that the control box cannot hang from the outlet like this. The control box is heavy and the interchangeable cord could easily become detached, and that's just not safe. If we hadn't bought this Grizzly charger to mount on the wall, we would have contacted the electrician to see if they would come back to change it. As it was, we bought the Grizzly because it came with an aluminum case with a gasket and is advertised as waterproof. It also came with a mounting bracket which makes it removable, and the biggest reason we bought it is that the bracket also makes it flush with the outlet. We've been using this a while and we're very happy with its performance so far. Interestingly enough, now that we're retired, we've only been putting around 800 miles per month on our car, which means we only have to charge around 3 or 4 times a month. That's it. And that means that if we hadn't gotten the 240 volt charge outlet installed, then we would be okay using the level 1, i.e. 120 volt charger. Yes, it would take a lot longer to charge using the level 1 charger, like around 5 to 7.5 hours to get back around 30 miles of charge, and we would pretty much have to charge every single time we use the car. But it's good to know that it could be done if for some reason we had had zero option of getting a 240 volt outlet installed. As it is, to give an example of charging with our 240 volt outlet, we went from being left with 109 miles of charge after a trip to Disney to 268 average miles of range in about 6 hours. And you know, even if we did have to plug our Bolt in every night to charge, it's still better than having to go to the gas station a couple of times per month like we used to, which is the second soft benefit we found to owning an electric car. The third soft benefit that we discovered is what we refer to as idling in comfort. With our Chevy Bolt, idling is now guilt-free for us, and I'm sure you can relate if you grew up in a state that has banned or at least strongly discourages idling. Also, there are plenty of power outages during the hurricanes in Florida, and if we don't need to evacuate, we will at least have access to a bank of power to charge our phones or sit in air conditioning, which cools quickly, easily, and doesn't use much power at idle, unlike gas cars. On the heat side, there's no more waiting for the engine to heat up before you get warm air. Speaking of heat, our fourth soft benefit that we've found after using our electric vehicle for about 2.5 months now is that since our car doesn't have an internal combustion engine, it's not really hot when we pull into the garage, so it doesn't add lots of extra heat to the cement blocks of our house. With the roasting temperatures in Florida summers, every little bit helps. Thank you for watching, and give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and subscribe to our channel to find more Paradise Today.